What is the crack, folks? Welcome along to episode number 80 of the Gym Advisors podcast with your host, Andy Collar. That is myself. And today I am delighted to be joined by Maeve Donohue. Maeve, how the hell are you?
I am good, Andy. I am good. No fear of me at all. How are you?
I'm good. We were talking beforehand where I've just come back from having my 3.5-month-old at her very first wedding. So things are tired, things are good fun. But really looking forward to this chat. We've been chatting about it for a little while now. Maeve, I do this with absolutely everybody. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, where do I start? I have a lot of history. I'll start off. Basically, I'm living in Limerick. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I'm a former nurse. They're going back about 5 years. I decided to change my career and go into the fitness industry. And I've been on a kind of a roller coaster adventure with the whole experience ever since, And at the minute, I suppose since COVID, I've had to transition online as a personal trainer. I've had to level up my game, return to study. And no more than anybody else, it's been a challenging time. So if you're asking me how I am, good. I'm good considering what life has thrown at me in the last year and a half.
And we're all like that. And like you said, it's interesting. Like we all had to change online. Like we had, I remember thinking before, and I probably talked about this on the podcast before. Like our big plan was to really push the idea of small group personal training because that's where so much benefit. I found myself was my first interaction with the industry in terms of personal training, and then all of a sudden, like online coaching was there and it was nice and it was brilliant, but it wasn't what I thought had the real potential that it could. And then COVID comes along, and a few months later, absolutely everybody has to be online. So it's thrown like all of our lives upside down in so many horrible ways, but in some ways it's kind of changed for. Again, this is a bit of a cliche at this stage, but it's changed some things for the good. It's kind of opened our eyes to what's possible,
Absolutely. I mean, coming from a non-technical background, comfort zones were smashed a long time ago. I think if I ever see a comfort zone now, I wouldn't know what to do with it because even doing this, Andy, this is completely, but we have to, I suppose the big thing with it is just to feel the fear and do it anyway, because, if we don't, we're losing out on opportunity, really. And that's one thing that I have learned out of the last year and a half is just, you know what, everybody else is in the same boat, different boat, maybe different waves, but to drive it on, we have to take a chance, or else we stay static. So no, it's been a huge learning curve for me. I wish sometimes life would throw easier things at me, but it is what it is.
Well, we'd all wish that sometimes, but as you said, about in terms of comfort zones, I'm really interested in some of the stuff you've been putting out recently in terms of all the different courses you've done. And I do want to come back to that because you're obviously like whatever about smashing comfort zones. You're like, as you said, you wouldn't recognize one. But come here, let's go back even further than pre-COVID times, if we can remember back that far. Why did you said you used to be a nurse? What made you make that decision, or what made you want to move into the more fitness and the fitness side of things rather of health, rather than just the kind of nursing side?
Okay, I'm asked this all the time, and I can assure you it wasn't because they kicked me out. I didn't kill anybody. That's why they didn't kick me out of nursing. I think some people go, what did she do? She can't work as a nurse anymore. No, it was actually a combination of about a million different things. And we could do a podcast alone on that, but I suppose the big thing for me was I was a nurse in an RNID, which is a nurse for people with intellectual disabilities, for many, many years. I love the job, absolutely adored it. And then, my little boy came along and he had special needs right from birth. We knew there was issues. So my energies and my skills went into, his development and his physio and liaison with all the team members. So to cut a very long story short, we got about 2.5 years down the road and I was looking like, I needed to return to some sort of part-time work. And I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know. It wasn't lighting my fire. I think I'd gone from one side of the fence to the other side of the fence. And, I had this kind of a moment where I was like, I don't know if I can go back. So I did try and go back into nursing several times. I tried several different avenues. And each time I don't know, the love
Yeah.
was gone out. And I could see my colleagues and they still had the love. And thank God they do, because they do a fantastic job. But I knew my path had changed. I knew I was going down a different road. So, like, I suppose back in 2011, when my son was 2.5, we were very much in the thick of it.
Mm.
And my health started kicking up. I was very, very stressed. I suppose had a little bit of weight on or whatever. And I was getting more and more disconnected from my mind, my body, and my soul, to the point where you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize the person that's looking back at you, if I'm honest. And a number of things happened that initiated that change. One, I was constantly in pain. I was in MRI at my back and my neck, and I was doing all these tests. Then a friend of ours tragically died, and that made me wake up going, okay, nothing's guaranteed here. I knew that I'd have to be a strong mom to raise a child with additional needs, in not just mind, but physically as
Mm.
well. And then, I don't know, I just think getting a top stuck over my head inside in a local shop was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, we all have that breaking point where it's like, enough is enough. I'm done with this now. I'm done with making excuses. And I took the 50 quid that day back in 2011. I think it was 2011, February. And I took the 50 quid I was going to spend in a top, and I literally went a couple of doors up to the local gym. Now, anyone that knows Limerick knows that it's the biggest gym in Limerick. It
Mm.
always kind of was. Well, up to a certain point. There's another one over the other side of town that came on later, but it was at that stage the biggest gym, and it was the most intimidating gym. I'm sorry, sorry lads, I know you all now as trainers and colleagues, but it was pretty intimidating. And I remember walking in the door and wanting to run out, but I didn't even have proper gear. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I needed to change something. And even the first day I did the induction, I came home and I cried. I cried because I was sore coming out the door. I cried because I had a reality check with regards my body fat. I had a reality check with regards my health. I had a reality check. And I said, I remember this moment, light bulb moment, going, okay, if you don't change now, when are you going to change? And I just kept going. And it literally was one foot in front of the other.
Mm.
I can't, if I could bottle and sell it as a personal trainer, I'd be a millionaire. I don't know what clicked.
No,
I
but it's
don't
it's
know. But
it's
it was just
so
this.
weird and funny. It's so weird and so funny, like how life works. I suppose you've gone through all that stuff, and somewhere along the line, like you've got those. I'm sure you had long nights and long days and everything else,
Mm.
and something so seemingly not innocuous, because it can be. It's kind of, it can make you feel a certain way, but something as innocuous as being in a changing room and a top, as you said, getting stuck or whatever it was. That's what can trigger the life changing kind of path, your path in life completely and utterly changing.
Yeah, I mean, when I say it was a number of things, I do mean it. Like the top, it was just like I was so fed up at that stage. It was like something has to change, and like it took a number of years of me trying to figure out my own path. So obviously, like I was a stay at home mom, and money was tight at the time. We didn't have a mortgage, actually. We were renting down here at the time, and there was a lot of things going on and a lot of pressures on us, I suppose. And I couldn't access a personal trainer. I just didn't have the money. So this is the funny part. So I saw a girl that was training. I didn't realize at the time, for bikini competition, and I kind of stalked her. And I looked at what she was doing, how she was doing it. I said, God, this girl looks phenomenal. How is she doing it? I counted her reps. I'd be on a treadmill, and I'd be looking at this girl, stalking her, and she'd be like, "What's she looking at?" But I was looking at what she was doing because I didn't know how to use the machines. I didn't know how to do free weights. I was using machines at the time, and somebody told me to lift 15 times. I lifted, and then this girl came in. She rocked in, and she was like walking around, and I was like, okay, what's she doing? And I literally got up on the treadmill for 35 minutes and I'd study what she do and try and replicate it. Then over time, I suppose you get more confident. I got friendly with the trainers. There's one trainer, she'll know exactly who she is. Phenomenal girl. I got friendly with her, and the last hour of the night, and it's a late night gym, so it's open till 10 o'clock, and at about 9 o'clock everything we used to wind down, and she'd say, come here, I'll walk around, I'll show you what to do. And she did that for a number of months until I learned how to lift weights. I remember her teaching me how to lift dumbbells. So I love her to bits. To this day, I credit her with the ability of, teaching me. And like anyone that's been to the gym knows, it's like driving a car. It's a skill,
Mm.
you have to learn how to do this thing. You just don't walk into a gym and you just don't know how to do these things, just from the bat. And that's I suppose how I started. But like, at that stage I was still in nursing. I didn't change career until 5 years ago.
Mm.
So it was only as I grew to love it and love it and love it, and it became a constant in my life and a non-negotiable, then I decided, I wonder, could I possibly turn this into a career?
And
Yeah.
and that is a point I want to come back to, and I will in a second. But it's funny again. We talk about innocuous things actually being really important, but that the
Mm.
kindness of that girl, of that trainer, taking you under her wing and just going, like, showing that little bit of kindness. Like, people who are watching on YouTube now will see this kind of flag that I have behind it that says nobody wins unless everybody wins, and one
Yeah.
one part of that is making sure that you drop down the ladder. So just because you're in a career or you're being successful, there's plenty of people that you can help that are just coming up through, whether it's with their own physical health or whether it's in their actual career. So just that act of kindness from that woman was incredible, and again sort of changed your life path again.
Yeah, she didn't have to.
No.
Like, I was really interested in training, and I was interested, I suppose I was fascinated by people that had a career in gyms. And I was like, God, how did you get into this? And she was like, she's a good 10 years younger than me. And I was like, how did you get into this? Do you love it? And I was obsessed at the time with asking people, did they love their job? Do
Okay.
you love your job? Do you love your job? Because I knew that the love for me, I had kind of been to the dark side of my job where I was still looking after my little boy. And I knew the 12-hour shifts and night duty and all that and weekends away from the family weren't going to work for us as a family, the Donohues. So yeah, I was trying to figure out in my head, if you're not going to do this, then what are you going to do? But yet, and this is the really funny part, the fitness industry, I felt, was a young person's gig. Do you know what? A
Mm.
younger person's gig, and that it would work against me. But in fact, nah. That my age has actually been, a contributing factor to bringing me along a bigger path. I would feel, if that makes sense. I'm following this path, and I think I'm going this way, and next thing it goes this way and this way. So like it's never ending. It's winding at the minute. I'm not sure where it's going to end up, but I feel that it's clicking into place slowly but surely. Yeah.
That's unreal, and we're all on that winding path. No matter anyone who thinks their life is mapped out in front of them, it's a big dead straight line. Little do they realize that everything is winding, and anything we talked about it earlier on, nothing is guaranteed. So we're all off to enjoy the kind of the journey that we're going on. So like, how long did it go from you being helped along by that girl in the gym and helped along with a bit of training sessions and just showing you the ropes, to you starting to wonder, as you said a few minutes ago, I wonder, can I make this a career? And then how did you start to make it a reality?
Okay, very, very interesting. So let's say it was a year, maybe I was stalking the girl that was doing the bikini competition.
You're admitting to a lot of
And
things there.
so I apologize to her right now. I apologize for my stalkeriness, but it's all good in the end. And then I suppose this girl, Jennifer, rocked into my life, and, she was a spinning instructor. She was, she was phenomenal at her job. And then she helped me along and we became good old buddies. And then I suppose a year after that, I was really confident in the gym. It was probably a year after that, going around knowing what I was doing. Then I got interested in free weights. So this is another funny story. So I remember trying to throw weights over my head, 30 kgs. And there was a guy in there from a powerlifting background. And he said, if you don't get down there to a squat rack, you're going to take the head off your shoulders. And I said, I don't know how to do this. So again, the kindness of people in the
Mm.
gym. I didn't really know him and I was terrified. There was a men's section and a women's section in the gym at the time, and it was going down to the men's section, the big boys' weights. So I remember that night so clearly, being terrified. My knees were knocking ever before. And they said, we're going to get a bar on your back and you're going to squat. And he called another lad over and he said, we're going to teach you how to squat now. And he knows who he is if he's looking at this podcast. So he taught me how to squat. And they literally put plates on and they said, you just do this and come back up. And I never looked back. They taught me how to squat. And they said, and I got waves from other people down that side of the gym. And I just started training down that side. It was just like, oh, I can go down here. Right. Okay. It was no big deal. So it was like Pavlova of experiences, like it was layers. You know, or what's that called? That pastry, phyllo pastry, where it's just layers.
No,
It was
no.
layers.
I prefer Pavlova. I prefer that as an example. I prefer that. That's brilliant. But again, look, the note I made as you were chatting there was just like everyone's life, and yours in particular, I suppose, is just littered with people who just help you along, and
Yeah.
we need more people kind of working together rather than this individualistic kind of attitude that some people seem to have as well. But like, let's go. So you're a PT now. You're doing online coaching, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. Talk to me a little bit about your ideal client. Someone comes to you and you're looking at them and go, you are the exact person that I can help. Who are they? What do they look like? What are their goals? All that sort of stuff.
Me in 2011.
Okay, it's a perfect answer.
Yeah. 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 Basically, in a nutshell, that well, female,
Hmm.
I suppose, for a start, okay, would be my ideal client. That person that is like a rabbit caught in headlights. They don't know where to
Hmm.
go, how to do. They're stuck maybe in a couple of different areas. They probably have shelved their needs, for their families for a number of years. Maybe, they haven't gotten answers from other avenues, or maybe the fitness industry hasn't been the nicest to
Hmm.
them in terms of who they've followed, whose advice they've taken. And then they come to me and I try and find solutions, and I life map for them. And what I try and do, I seem to be saying I, but they with me. It's a team effort. It's not just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what we do is I rock into their world virtually,
Hmm.
and I will see, where is this girl at? What's her stress level? Where is her, why is she, needing me to come into her life? Okay, what's her experience? What's her history? What can we realistically do to bring about change in a non-stress environment? What's going to be more sustainable for that girl in the long term? And that's exactly, when you're saying my ideal client, that's, I'm always thinking, who would I have needed to meet, or who would I have loved to have had the money to access back then?
Hmm.
That's it really.
That's a
Do
class.
you
It's a
know?
class adage to have, particularly given your experience up to that point. Another one that, like, in terms of that person that is the ideal client, and I'm always interested to see how people get to maybe where they are, or their experiences through life to get to what their thoughts about fitness are. Like, what is a typical woman in her late 20s, early 30s experience with the fitness industry, and in terms of nutrition and diet plans, and we're bombarded with so much information out there, whether it's social media or magazines or whatever like that. When someone comes to you, what are they thinking, and what sort of like mental blocks do you need to break down for them?
Oh, there's a good few, I suppose. Like, I'm on Instagram myself, a fantastic platform for building a business, and I suppose what I see a lot of the time is somebody coming in trying to emulate their influencers that they're following, their lifestyles,
Mm.
and feeling like they're failing, in some sort of a way, because, you know, they don't look like that, or they're not able to sustain a lifestyle like that. So this is a very common thread, and even towards 30s and 40s, I suppose, unrealistic expectations of what you can actually do within your lifestyle. And people forget it's that personal trainer's job to train, you know, and to present themselves a certain way. Now, I suppose over the last few years, there's more of a movement away from the bodybuilding side of things, and, the I suppose the bikini, competitive side of things, into kind of sustainable, holistic, and functional, and medicine and stuff like that, which is lovely to see. I fell into every rabbit hole, to be honest, Andy.
Mm.
So I can totally remember the time that, like, I fell into every one of them on my journey. And just to backtrack, you were saying, when did I become a PT? It was like 5 years ago. So I had 6 years of training in a gym, or thereabouts, or sorry, 5 years training in a gym, gradually becoming, more interested in becoming a fitness instructor. Um, and I fell into every rabbit hole. I fell into kind of ketogenic, low carb, um, everything. Just your general sort of, oh, this works, that works. logging in my fitness pal, want to lose a pound a week. Guess what they gave me? 1,200 calories. Starving. All this sort of stuff. So, I'm coming, when people come to me, they kind of go, but what about this and what about that and what about the other? And I just try and put it into a context that they understand, okay, if we do it this way, it might be a little bit more enjoyable for you. And it's about building up trust with your client. People are coming with preconceived ideas. This is the only way it's going to work for me. I've been to, Weight Watchers or whatever system that they might have been, and I know it works for me. And I'm like, okay, but has it worked for you? Or will we try and edge you towards something that's a
Yeah.
little bit
Well,
different?
there's your response straight away. Is like, if it's worked for you and all you want to do is lose weight and that's your end goal, why are you here? Like particular, like, and that's kind of comparing apples and oranges a little bit, because there's obviously different goals at the end of it. But if someone just wants to lose fat, why are they then kind of trying something else?
Yeah, it's to try and prevent the yo-yoing,
Mm.
and fixed mindsets and all or nothing mindsets. You're asking me what I have to kind of tease apart with people is the all or nothing mindset, the Monday to Friday. I'm going to be good. The weekend warriors then.
Yeah.
But and if I had a euro for every time I taught group fitness, and I'd have the girls rocking in on Monday and they go, that's it. I had a hell of a weekend, I'm giving up sweets, cakes, biscuits, alcohol, chocolate, crisps, potatoes, life, enjoyment of life. And I just go, you're going to last, girl, till Thursday, and then you're gonna fall spectacularly. And you know what? It was that every single week, and then the disappointment, or you might. It's just, look, if you can set people up for the win, right, and small steps over a long period of time. I'd rather people came in to my system and they were like the tortoise than they were a racehorse. The racehorse mindset for me makes me a little bit scared. You're going to crash and burn. The tortoise, and as I say, you've the rest of your life, Tim. This is the rest of your life. If you employ these strategies and these techniques, this is what I do going forward. This is how I lost the weight. This is how I kept it off. This is how I sustain myself in training. This is how I mind myself in my recovery. I'm just going to impart some information to you. It's my client's choice how they absorb that information and apply it to their situation ultimately. But yeah, I can only I can only help so much,
Yeah.
and then they have to make a decision on it.
Yeah, no,
You know.
100%. And like, just even going back a little bit in terms of what we were talking about, you talked about the ketogenic diet and different bits and pieces there. Like, a lot of that, like, it can have a place depending on situation, but for 90,
Oh
like,
yeah.
depending on, like, for 99.99999% of people, they're not getting paid for how they look and for how they perform, like athletically or anything like that. So the sustainability is so important to them. Obviously, you want to go through a phase, you want to do a bit of a cut or whatever, grand. But having it cycles that are sustainable is just, like, for the vast majority of people, is incredibly important compared to the 0.0001% who were getting paid for Instagram ads or whatever,
Oh my God, totally. And I think it's differentiating between, let's say that person that actively chooses, to, go down the route of doing that photo shoot and, that an aggressive cut. They know exactly what they're doing
Mm,
and they're guided and they're getting advice, as opposed to the person that's implementing this for themselves without any guidance at all. I
yeah.
mean, do you know what I'm coming from? Yeah,
No,
I think
100%.
that's the difference.
That's exactly the difference. And having you talked about the stalking the poor girl in the gym earlier on, and it's a lot of it comes down to, like, an analogy of that is like, you're doing the like, following someone else's plan, the wrong thing for the right reason. And if the wrong thing for the right reason is nearly always better than the right thing for the wrong reason, like
That's right.
that's just the way it is. You kind of have to set it up for yourself and put every bit of advice, and I said it all the time, put every bit of advice into your own context and whatever, fit it into your own life.
You know what, Andy, and it brings us on to, I suppose, naturally onto a subject that looking fit doesn't necessarily mean healthy.
Yes,
Am I
exactly,
right?
exactly.
I mean, but it's a person's choice if they want to go down that route. Obviously, if they know what they're doing, they know the consequences. Then you're making an active choice, and that there's nothing wrong with making active choices. But when you're applying that to general population, when they're trying to do it for themselves or figure that out, then that's when it becomes a little bit more tricky, I
Yeah,
guess.
no,
Yeah.
100%. And that's kind of, again, where the site comes in. I try not to do too much on it, but like the gymadvice.ie is all about helping you, the regular person, find someone who suits them. There's
Yeah.
thousands of personal trainers just in Ireland, and figuring it out from social media alone is basically impossible. Whether they're going to be the right fit for you, you know. But come here, look. One thing I mentioned very briefly earlier on is this desire you have for education and self. You mentioned a fixed mindset earlier on, the growth mindset that you clearly have. You're constantly trying to get different courses and all that. One thing that you mentioned to me recently was a cert you've got in third age, I think you call it, around the menopause.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about
Yeah.
that, because as particularly as a man, I think we're ill served in terms of what actually is involved and what happens to the female body, the female mind in that. So what sort of, tell me the basics here in terms of the physicality, physiologically, what happens in the lead up to the menopause, during the menopause, after the menopause.
Okay, so I'm living and eating and breathing it at the minute,
Okay.
even with my own training. So everything kind of gets, it slows down a little bit and gets a little bit harder. And you have certain symptoms. I suppose it can happen at any stage from your late 30s, early 40s. I'll keep it really, really simple. But
Mm,
basically, you have a fall off in the hormones, a tailing off in the hormones, and it kind of in some women it can cause ructions, and in some people it doesn't really affect them at all. And what we know is that there's certain lifestyle eh, things that you can factor in. There's certain uh, actions that you can take to make the whole process a little bit easier and understanding yourself. Again, something that I encounter as a PT quite a lot is 30 and 40 something year old women trying to emulate 20-year-olds,
mm,
be it. And, I think that's, again, we're coming back to who we're following, what we're digesting from social media. And I suppose a permission to self to accept where we're at our life stage. So basically, yeah, your body starts railing. It's the opposite of puberty. So if you think menopause is the opposite of puberty, not really talked about a
mm.
whole lot.
No.
You'll find me talking an awful lot about it. It's not. And yes, for certain ladies, it can be harder to lose, if the goal is to lose weight. It can be more difficult because you are losing muscle mass as we age, sarcopenia it's called, and then that lends itself to storing body fat, mainly around the abdomen. So we all have that auntie, whoever female relative that goes, oh my God, my tummy is getting bigger. And the tendency then, Andy, is what people naturally do is they increase their cardio, they drop their calories, and nothing is working. They're in this metabolic sort of cascade of nothing working for them, God love us. And then it's hard,
Mm,
mentally it's hard to start losing your youthful figure. You find that the hourglass shape becomes more the apple shape. And then what we know then is that's more metabolically active for hormones and storing hormones and all the rest of it. So what we do then is we go, right, what can we do? So what can we do? We can eat really good, nutritious food. We know that. Okay. Excuse me. We can weight train.
mm.
This is the superpower. So this will actively help us to hold on to as much muscle mass as we go through life. And that is the holy grail of fitness. I say to my girls, and don't anybody else steal this. This is my tagline. It's Botox for the body. I've now I'm I'm holding on to that now. Anybody else emulates that, I'm coming after them. I'm going to stalk them. But yeah, I tell them Botox for the body, weight training.
I'm just writing it
And
down.
it
I'm
is.
just writing it down here. I think we found our title for the podcast at least. So I hope you'll allow me to do that before you go off and
I
trademark
will.
it. Yeah.
So yeah, and that gets the girls hooked. I'm like, they're like, try on the plates, try on the plates. I'm like, yes, yes, let's try on all the plates, all the weights. But yeah, and it just keeps you mobile and like I'm a firm believer, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm,
You know, and in terms of there's loads of things around, general health, pelvic floor health, quality of life going forward. I mean, we could do a podcast on this alone, but it is very important that we, as a group of women, start talking to each other because, and admitting to each other, like, there's nothing wrong with this, there's nothing shameful about it, and every person that shares their story, we find solutions within each other. Well, I've
mm,
tried this, you've tried that, and, or I found this doctor good, or, I found this holistic practitioner good. And an awful lot of it, and I suppose not to bore you to death, but an awful lot of it is the more you try, the more your goals evade you. So sometimes it's even things like restorative yoga, and a calming down of the nervous system is enough to kickstart a process. Also, I suppose medically, when we get to our 30s and 40s, you find that kind of medical issues can creep in, thyroid can kind of creep in. So it's worth getting checked. So that's why I try and do a deep screening on everyone. So it's like a safety net for me and for the client, that if anything is pinged, I go, okay, maybe you should see your GP for this and get this checked out before we start and commence training. Or maybe we'll send you on to a nutritional therapist or a dietitian, registered dietitian, because we want to be part of the solution for the person, not part of a problem where they're going to fall off the fence and then maybe seek extreme measures to achieve their goals. Does that make
It
sense?
does,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love just even the phrase of trying to be part of the problem and not thinking that you have the solutions to absolutely everything, because we don't, and no one does. Just being
Yeah.
part of a, maybe not an official team, but like the approaching the person from a multidisciplinary area, like, so you've got the everything kind of covered, particularly at a time when it's very sensitive and important for the person, you know. So
Well,
that's really important for you to be doing, you know. Fair play.
I think what personal trainers, I'm just going to put myself out in the limb here, right? I think with personal training, the people that are coming to us, I'm not saying everybody is vulnerable, but there's a vulnerability in asking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that we need to be very mindful of that as personal trainers. And we need to make sure that when we're selling what our services or our products or whatever it is, our online or whatever, that we are very honest in our what we can realistically achieve with the person, or refer them on, you know,
Mm.
and that that I hope that people have a good experience when they work with me,
Yeah.
or even if it's just to get them started on the journey. And then, yeah, I mean, if they're looking for something like, I want to do a photo shoot or whatever, yeah, I'll say, well, I know that this person is really good, and I'll refer on as needs be. But yeah, just getting them started
I love that.
is is really lovely.
I love that, man. I really really love that. Just in terms of, as you said, like if you're really caring about the person as they come to you, you're not in it just for the quick buck. You're not in it for reasons that are nefarious or anything like that. And that's, the more people we have
No,
fighting that good fight, the better. So that is exactly the reason we want you and have you on the gymadvisor.e.
thank you.
So, Maeve, you are also adding three songs to our playlist on Spotify. That is the Gym Advisor playlist, so just search that. Can you give us your first song?
So my first song is Riverside, Let's Go.
That is, I went through these earlier on, these three songs, and you've got all incredible bangers here. I really enjoyed that. I was bopping away to it. Give us your second one there.
So the second one is Breathe.
That again is another tune. And your third one?
Third one is No Turning Back.
What a way to finish. Maeve, is there anything that links those songs? Like, I kind of ask people as well, is there a reason for that, or are they just three random songs you throw on when you're working out?
No, very, very deep meaning behind all of these songs. Riverside Let's Go was back in the day in 2011 when we had MP3 players and we had to go, we had a choice of 10 songs that you listened to for 6 months. One of the, so this was my getting up in a treadmill song when I started going to the
Yeah.
gym. Riverside Let's Go. And I don't know what it's about, the words let's go. But every time, it doesn't matter whether it's Shania Twain, Let's Go Girls, or it was Calvin Harris, one of those, Let's Go. Though any song that says Let's Go, I'm in the zone. It doesn't matter. I could do a whole playlist of Let's Go songs. But that was the one for me, Riverside Let's Go. And I think the beat, I used to kind of try and jog to the beat and try not fall off the treadmill, basically.
It's always a good skill. It's always a good skill.
It's kind of a trudgy song, so you can see I wasn't going very fast back then, So Breathe was a particularly difficult time in my life, actually, going back 2 years ago, and I couldn't breathe and lost the love for the gym. And it was around the time of my son's diagnosis of autism. And I reached out for help. I actually got an online coach myself because I was like, okay, I need a team of people around me. I need the help, even though I'm a qualified PT and I know how to train. I accessed an online coach. I accessed, a counselor and a physiotherapist just to come around me and to help and support me. But that song was on repeat, and it just says, you know, just trying to breathe again. And I remember going in, doing my training, and that was literally on a loop. So a very special song there. No turning back. Now, what can I say about this? Self-explanatory, really. This is me with the gloves off to the universe going, there is no turning back. We only belt on forwards. And I love that song so much. That's on a loop on my playlist right now. And I play this for my clients when they come in. I go, there is no turning back. There's no going back. There's only forward. That's basically it.
Maeve, that is, I think, probably the best explanation we've had of 3 songs and 3 very distinct phases. So that's like, I'm really happy to be adding them to the playlist. That's a really nice way to really nice thing to be adding to the playlist. So Maeve, look, everyone can find you on the gymadvisor.ie/Maeve Donohue PT. But you're also, we talked about social media a little bit. You're also on it. Can you point us in the right direction for it?
Okay, I actually have to look this up. This is how techie I am. So I actually have to kind of go in here now, lads, because there's a slash somewhere in it. So anyway, so it's Maeve _Donohue _PT. There I am.
But yeah, you're also an affiliate for the Gym Advisor store. Maeve, do you remember your code?
Maeve 10 is my code.
Unreal, top of the class. Maeve, this has been a lot of fun. Really, really interesting story, really interesting person. I've really just enjoyed this. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks a million, Angie, for having me.
No, we'll be chatting again
so
soon.
much.
We'll be chatting again soon, no doubt. To the rest of you though, as always, hasta la fitness, baby.